Good morning. You're watching the news here at CNN News 18. My name is Toya Singh. Right here on the show today, we're going to be taking a look at all of the country's top stories. Our first story, though, takes us down to Tamil Nadu. All right, our first story today takes us down to Tamil Nadu, where the death of a class 12 student in Tamil Nadu's Kallakurichi has sparked violent protests in the district over the last 2 days. Now, the district, as we speak, continues to reel under Section 144 imposed by authorities in the area. In the meantime, CNN News 18 has accessed the suicide note that was allegedly written by the girl before she committed suicide. In that note, you can see that she's clearly mentioned that she was tortured and pressured by 2 of her teachers. Now, the Madras High Court yesterday ordered another autopsy. A special team will also be formed to identify the accused. The court will be monitoring the probe into the violence that took place on Sunday, because as we said, there's been violence both on Sunday and on Monday. The Tamil Nadu police has so far arrested the school principal, the maths and the chemistry teachers, along with more than 200 other people in connection with the violence. Now, the death of this student has sparked, as we've just said, violent protests in the district. While the district itself continues to reel under Section 144, here's a look at a special report.
Buses vandalized. Stones pelted. Clashes between police and protesters. Tamil Nadu is tense after a class 12 student was found dead in a hostel in the Kallakurichi district.
This complete building that you're seeing in the visual, in fact, the windows being smacked after the stones were being pelted. The building was set on a fire, which is almost being burnt over there. On the right-hand side of mine, you can see the school buses that were all been set on fire. So, as we learned, almost 17 school buses were being torched.
While police are claiming the student died by suicide, her family alleges she was tortured by her teachers. The autopsy report mentioned multiple injuries and hemorrhage as the cause of death.
அதுக்கான அந்த மண்டை ரத்தம் ஏன் உடைஞ்சது அதுக்கான ரிப்போர்ட்ல எதுவுமே சொல்லல சார். எதே சம்பந்தமே இல்லாத சொன்னாங்க. எலும்பு வந்து முறிவேல முறிஞ்சிடுச்சுன்னு போய் சொல்றாங்க சார். சார் உடம்புல நிறைய நகை கீரங்கள் கிடந்தது, இங்க காயா இருந்தது எல்லாத்தையுமே மறைக்கப்பட்டிருக்காங்க சார்.
The Madras High Court ordered a second post-mortem and came down heavily on protesters who indulged in violence. The court questioned how the state can be held to ransom. The judge said peaceful protest turning violent suddenly did not appear to be a mere act of provocation, and ordered the constitution of special teams to identify those behind the organized crime. The court also said that police were not under the control of anyone and should enforce the law. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin appealed for calm and promised strict action against those behind the violence.
நடக்கும் எந்த செயல்களாக இருந்தாலும் அவர்கள் சட்டத்தின் முன் நிறுத்தப்பட்டு தண்டிக்கப்படுவார்கள் என எச்சரிக்கிறேன்.
Nearly 200 people have been arrested in connection with the clashes. The deceased student's chemistry and math teacher, as well as 3 school management officials, including the principal, have also been nabbed. But is there more than what meets the eye? Is there an attempt to cover up the truth?
All right, we're going to be taking a deeper look at this story again later in the day today. But before we move on from this story, my colleague Maya Shakil yesterday spoke to a panel of guests on the issue of suicide by a student in Tamil Nadu's Kallakurichi, this entire incident. Take a look at that conversation.
School's insensitivity, I would say, has been on display. The school secretary Shanti, in fact, put out that video blaming the deceased student's mother for the violence on Sunday. She also made some very serious allegations against the mother, alleging that she incited the mob by spreading fake news. How insensitive can the school be? Sendil, if you can hear me.
Yeah, can you hear me on this?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Fine. Basically, this is one of the atrocious events which has happened very recently with respect to the education sector. Before I move ahead on this, I just would like to put a word over here. Presently, the entire education system, which is being taken as commercial sector, and especially if you really look at that, either it has been running with the politicians or either one of the missionary which has been running across as a profit mode. That's the biggest flaw in the entire education system, which I just would like to put across over this into this board itself.
Sumansi Raman, I was looking at certain reports which highlighted the fact that there was a lot of animosity towards the school management also because of their fee structure and a perceived high-handedness in their behavior towards the surrounding community.
Maria, I think we need to wait for the investigation to be completed. Unfortunately, allegations are being made by both sides, and the police have not been very clear in their communication. In fact, even the DGP, in the statements that he has been making, has sort of, at one point he said, until now, we do not think that, we have not come across any kind of evidence against the school and so on. So I think that and even earlier, 4 days people were protesting, and yet the issue did not, raise the alarm bells anywhere within the police force. It was only on the 4th day that the violence actually broke out.
The pain that they go through is unexplainable. You cannot even describe the loss in words. The school, there has been prior allegations against them that is still under investigation. Now this, there has been a huge lapse, the intelligence lapse on part of the police. But at the same time, we also need to understand that we cannot take law in our hands. There has been some incidents where we have seen that there were Facebook uploading where they said that it's, you need to gather in such place, you need to protest against it. You cannot inside the public, you cannot ask for violence, you cannot provoke them and say it's fine to indulge in any kind of a violence. The girl needs justice. But I would also like to highlight that this is not the first time we have seen a child who has killed themselves by suicide. I think we have seen it in the past. Why is that we always fail to have a cell from every government where we say the child should feel anonymously, they can call a particular cell and say that I am being harassed, I am being assaulted, I am being tortured, and I need help against one particular school. Why is that we cannot form a kind of a committee which helps these kids?
All right, moving on from that story, though as we've just told you earlier, we'll be tracking that story through the day today.